Hello. Welcome to another edition of Hobby News Daily. I'm still Danny Black, but today I'm joined by Dustin, Sports Card Dad. What's going on, Dustin?
Hey, Danny, thanks very much for having me. I've been watching all these episodes, so I was excited when you reached out.
Well, I was excited you were coming on. I'm a fan of yours and what you do, and your vulnerability and honesty in your reactions to things and your takes on stuff. So I'm glad you came on so we could talk the hobby because we both love that we get to do this at all and talk about this at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of one of those living the dream type things when you can actually have some sort of a platform and talk about stuff that you actually really enjoy talking about. So yeah, it's fantastic.
I think we were joking off air. It's nice to talk about something other than making our kids try to listen to us. Um,
Yeah.
the cards don't talk. The cards don't talk back much. So
We just lock ourselves in our office and just have a moment.
there's so much truth to that, and everybody who's watching or listening to this is
Yeah.
going to nod along and go, "Yep, that's the perfect
I mean,
scenario."
sadly, that is actually true. I mean, I've had moments where I've told, my youngest, like, hey, I need 15 minutes. I'm going to be in this room. I need 15 minutes to myself, and then we can chat afterwards.
My kids always say, "Are you going to be on a call?" And I say, "No, but the door is going to be closed." uh, so let me ask you: you put out a lot of content. Do you have like internal goals, or is it kind of as it comes to you? I mean, how do you decide when to put out the next piece of content, or are you cognizant of a time frame? So one good piece of content you can get a couple episodes out of.
I think that part of it's just being a creature of habit and also just kind of a personal challenge, self-discipline thing that I started going back. I started the channel March 22nd, 2020. And that was, of course, when everyone got stuck at home and we're all trying to figure out, okay, what are the next steps? I had been thinking about talking to my wife about starting a channel for months leading up to that because I'd seen other channels kind of pop up that were talking about hobby topics outside of just box breaks or collector type stuff, which I love that stuff, meaning like just showing cards on camera. I love all that stuff, but I was kind of yearning for just what about just the daily news stuff that's happening in collectibles and cards and that sort of thing, or just stuff that's industry stuff that maybe you can only find on certain websites. I didn't see a lot of that on YouTube, and so I was trying to kind of bridge that. And they always say sometimes when you hear make the content that you want to see, and so even if you're seeing a lot of it, a big part of being consistent that I found is just if it's got to be something that I enjoy making, or else I won't stick to it. So if the hot content topic is X, but I just don't care to make it, then
Right.
it might be the hot thing, but it just won't be something that I can consistently do. So I'm now 4 years into kind of and I've missed days. I'm not saying I've made it every day, but I'll make up for it where I've had kind of 2 a days or a live stream or something. If you average it out, it's daily over 4 years. And it's simply just kind of been creature of habit. I get up early in the morning. Like we just said, we have kids. And so that's kind of the quiet time. And a lot of times the topic will be something, it's either something, and now there are a lot of news kind of stuff that pops up. So we have more material to work with, but it's something I was it either popped up that I saw that I'd like to react to, or it's something, a topic, a hobby topic that I was thinking about, a challenge that I'm having. And a lot of it's just, I'm going to throw this topic out there and see if anyone else is having that same challenge or thinking the same things. And I've learned a lot from people like yourselves, longtime hobbyists, or people that are brand new that bring fresh perspective. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, and to reiterate your point, to do something we love and is a blessing, and all the, I call it the over hobby drama. I always tell people just take a deep breath and remember we're talking about people on cardboard, and let's just love it, let's enjoy it. The hobby news stories are relevant because I don't have to be a flipper, a grader, or I mean a breaker to care that Fanatics bought tops. You know,
Right.
that's a big enough story that there is a reaction to. Now,
Yeah.
do I want to get into the minutia? God bless one of my favorite people in the world, Paul Lesko, but I cannot read legal opinions of 500 pages like he can, and then put it up in 6 tweets. That's beyond my ability. So I just try to find, like you said, what is truly what I want to put out, and what can I then actually put out, you
Right.
know? And I think that's a lot to do with it. So I find myself, whether it's talking to people like you, just hobby people that we can, enjoy the hobby together, or talking about something personal I'm working on. And that leads me to you with the family. How do you, and this is a challenge I have, and getting back to the content, how do you divide up kind of your pie? Like, when you think of something, do you go with it, or not to give away all your secrets, is there kind of a notes process before you go? How much time do you need, before you can hit record and feel comfortable? Because I don't think people realize that between editing, recording ideas, it's more than the 10 minutes.
I would say that most videos, and it presents a challenge when people say, I've gotten pushback where it's, I wish you would have gotten into more detail for this part of the video. But my shtick has really always been 7 to 12 minutes is kind of my block that I'm working in for a couple of different reasons. One, I can start to finish coming up with the idea, jotting down a few notes, taking a few pictures that I'm going to add in clips. It's about 90 minutes, an hour 15. The fastest video might be 50 minutes to an hour, but a lot of times it might take 90 minutes. But I don't have 4 or 5 hours, for per video, to be able to do. So I could technically maybe make better videos with better editing, more clips kind of thrown in, more funniness, maybe do less videos. I've thought about that too, maybe switch it up, but I'm in such a routine doing it kind of daily and doing it the way that I've been doing it, that I've just decided to, to stick with what has kind of worked so far. And but there's challenges, I mean, this might be a great hobby topic to talk about, but nobody else cares and wants to watch it. So it's finding that balance of what do people enjoy watching? What do they want to see? And what do I want to make? And that's kind of, now I'm speaking specifically about YouTube also. I should throw that out. So each platform, whether it be Instagram or TikTok or whatever, is going to have its own animal, it's its own thing. And I'm not good at the short stuff, the 30 to 60 second. There's guys and gals that are way better at that than I am. And so I just stayed in my lane. I'm also, I wouldn't say fantastic at 90-minute or 2-hour live streams. I do a bi-weekly live stream with a couple of my buddies, but Jeremy Lee doing, kind of, 3 or 4 different kind of long form pieces of content a week. That'll never be me. I don't see it that way anyway. So I think it's also just, you can't boil the ocean and just trying to figure out, okay, what do I have time for? What do I enjoy? What am I okay at? And then just sticking with that.
I think that's what you said kind of went under the radar there. For a roughly 10-minute video, you are putting in about an hour.
Yeah, 60 to 90 minutes from like coming up with the idea, jotting down 4 or 5 major points, and then putting it together. And that's including editing, as well.
And
So
that's not unique to you. That's the time it takes. I mean, people don't realize that.
Yeah.
And so to put out one a day, to put out even a second one, I mean, that's eating up a lot more than what people are seeing in the final version. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into that. So just kudos, because I know my production value lacks because of my ADD. And I just can't sit still that long. So kudos on the work you do on your videos. As far as the long form videos, you made me smile there for a second. I accidentally decided to do a 4-hour anniversary special.
Mm-mm.
I could not stand up straight or walk right for a good 24 hours. I felt like I should have called halftime, done a stretch. So I say, Jeremy Lee, we just got to throw water on him like halfway through a marathon.
Right.
Yeah, and to keep it going. Definitely the shorter version. I admit I stole from Dr. Beckett on his podcast, and I think it's a good length generally. Now let's talk some hobby fun.
Sure.
Okay. For those who don't know, what do you collect?
So it's a wide variety, mostly 80s, 90s pop culture stuff. So, I mean, sports cards is definitely a big part of that. Although I've narrowed my lane down to, I do have some Hall of Fame auto type stuff. I've got a Willie Mays auto and just kind of like certain things that I've held on to. And I do have kind of specific cards that, Hall of Fame type stuff that I bought. But My PC is really Drew Brees. I'm a long time New Orleans Saints fan. We're season ticket holders now. And, so Brees is, and also kind of the inexpensive version of my other PC, which is Tom Brady. So I've got Brees and I've got Brady. And then on the non-sports side, I collect Stranger Things cards. And a lot of that is just it's my family's favorite show. Outside of my youngest, doesn't want to watch it, too scary for him. But that's something that we kind of all enjoy as a family. So it's not just when a Breeze card comes in the mail, it's like, oh, Dad's got another package. When it's like a Stranger Things autograph card, it's like, oh, cool. That's actually pretty cool. So that's been fun to just kind of diversify. And those cards have been nice because they have kind of accelerated in value, because I don't hide from the fact too that I want to collect cards, but at the same time, I do care about values. Of course, I've got an 89 score binder football set, to where I bought it for $40. If in 20 years it's worth 20, I'm okay. But if I'm putting significant money into a single card, that's money. And you can, you've got kids as well. You got a family. That's money that could go somewhere else. There's plenty of other places it can go. So I'm attempting, I'm not saying that I'm always winning, but I'm attempting to maintain value, slow growth over time, type thing. But there's also a joy of ownership, that comes with it as well. So, but my collection over time it's changed. I've been back in for 6 years, and just getting to know and learning about different card sets, different collectibles, it's just varied over time. So I try to tell people that, because you probably get the question too, what should I buy? What should I collect? It's like the thing that you think is awesome now, you might learn of 10 other awesome things over the course of years where you're like, actually, you know what? I'm going to sell all of this and get into that thing, So I've got sports cards. I've got graded video games and graded comic books. I've got sealed Mad Balls, if you remember those from the 80s. I've got Ninja Turtle action figures from the 80s.
I was an 80s kid. Absolutely.
Yeah. So for me, it's, I'm a big nostalgia buyer for sure. That's what fuels my collection is the nostalgia stuff.
Most important question I'm going to ask you today. Would you rather have a Jerry Rice or Walter Payton rookie card?
I have a Walter Payton rookie in a 6.
How would you value those two?
Right. Yeah, I know. I need to get prepped up. Thanks for letting me win that contest, by the way, too. But
guys, that was an inside joke. Dustin took me in a trivia contest to be aired at a later date on a different channel.
Yeah, I love both of those cards. I have the Walter Payton in a 6, and I had a Rice in a 7. I ended up just selling it off because I was thinking they're abundant, and I would like to have it. I'd like to have it in an older, or like
I've got the SGC 7, and I'm just thinking about moving it. It's funny you said that.
Nice. Yeah, it's so, and we were talking about Montana's rookie card as well on that trivia. That the Montana in a 9 is one that I want as well. So I mean, for me, I want to have both of those cards back. I actually had a Montana in an 8 and I sold it. I had bought it 5 years ago. It went up. I sold it. And in part because I'm like, you know what? That's not my end copy. I'd like to have a 9, so yeah.
All right. I was definitely still rubbing my wounds on that one. 80s football, a little bit your wheelhouse. Some of your favorite cards from the decade.
My all-time favorite set of any card is 89 score. 89 score, and there's a few reasons. I think part of it is that was kind of the expensive set when I was collecting 89 Pro set.
These are such memories. That's why I'm smiling. Yeah, such memories.
89 Pro set was so abundant and it was available. 89 score was, and I don't know if it was hobby only. I just don't remember ever seeing it at stores. I only remember seeing it at card shops. And I remember like the Thurman Thomas rookie card. Of course, this is pre-grading. So, raw copies though were like 60, 70, $80 in 1989, 1990. And I just remember looking and just the design with kind of the big helmet logo, I just love that set. And then of course it's packed with Hall of Famers. They're portrait cards, so they're not wearing helmets, and a lot of them. I mean, 89 score football is my all-time favorite set. But it's funny how people are like, oh, I don't want like college jerseys of players. I remember, I had the 89 Pro set, Barry Sanders and the Troy Aikman, and of course they're college jersey cards. Deion Sanders from Florida State. But man, I love those cards, even in those college jerseys. It was a much simpler time collecting. There wasn't 800 sets. It was very simple back then.
I remember we used to always call them baseball card stores. Was it the same way for you?
Oh, yeah.
and you might find a box of football somewhere. There might be one box or something, but I remember the stores being overwhelmingly 99% baseball cards. So
Yep.
even finding a couple choices of football cards, and the print counts and population counts were just totally different back then. Before you could buy them by the pallet some places eventually. But the score is still not, where baseball ever was in the junk wax, the football score.
Yeah, what really kind of I became way more into it, if I'm really being honest, because Beckett Basketball Magazine came out in the spring of 1990, and then football was right around the same time. I actually
Yep.
was just listening to a Beckett talk with Rich Klein, and they were talking about just the good old day type stuff going back in time. And he said if we had just stayed with a baseball card price guide, we would never have been as big. It was, they would have been much smaller as a company. Because I think that what Rich asked, or somebody asked him, what do you regret? What would you have done, differently or whatever? And he said we would have got a new grading faster. But then one thing he did say was just the ascension of football and basketball card collecting back then. I think that's understated. Baseball cards were always kind of popular, but Bo
Yep.
Jackson and Barry Sanders and the Jordan kind of ascending and all that happening at the same time. I think that really is what fueled that big boom back then.
Two thoughts. One of them is one of my PCs, which is a great cheap PC, is athletes who played multiple sports. So you can pick up all the junk wax, Bo and Dion, and go back to Dave DeBuscher, and all the way through. Second thought is Dr. Beckett with the magazines. It almost mirrored society in the way the NBA blew up. I know he says he wish he got into it sooner. I mean, before Magic and Bird, the finals were tape delay. I mean,
Right.
forget the cards, forget an industry for the cards, forget a price guide for the cards. I mean, that was so off the radar. Looking back, it's kind of funny how it almost seems minor league compared to what they put on now.
Well, and I've been in a debate recently on my channel. I did a video, the 84 Star versus the 86 Fleer. And when you actually dive into the history of Star, what's amazing, especially today, when you just look at the popularity of basketball, nobody wanted that license. In 1984, like Thompson Flair,
Thank you. Right.
Thompson Flair were like, get out of here. We don't want anything to do with it. So Star, they I think it was like 10 grand or something is the rumor that he paid. And he didn't even make money from that venture, based on what, you'd think like, oh man, he must have made a killing. And he didn't make a killing from Star. And then of course, Michael Jordan explodes, Fleer gets into it, and history kind of is what it is. But I just thought that was amazing when you think back, especially with how popular that sport is today.
How much do you think we would look at the Jordan rookie differently if PSA had graded the Star going back
Right.
to I think I don't want to say I blame PSA. I think there's a huge correlation between PSA acknowledging one and not the other that led to a lot of hobby agreement.
Right. Yeah, and I understand, there's I guess arguments to be made on both sides, and that's what's kind of fun about this, like we talk about just hobby topics, and because it's fun. It's not being divisive. It's just these debates it's kind of like, it reminds me of like the old guys outside the coffee shop that are debating about sports or whatever, who's the better, batter or pitcher or whatever.
Right.
It's kind of similar. You have these old wives' tales and all these card, topics that go back, and some of it's kind of, some of these stories, it's like, who came up with these stories, that just kind of carried over time that we all just go by, it's fun.
Well, you got to pay it forward and pass it down as you learn stuff. I mean, that's and ask questions. I tell everybody that in the hobby, don't be afraid to ask anybody a question ever in the hobby. The hobby are people who like to give you answers. So don't worry.
Totally.
By the way, I agree with you on the Star rookie completely. I'm sorry that grading just started in the last year with PSA. I think you're going to see a lot of crossovers, and I think that pop count on the PSA is going to rise very fast. I think a lot of people have been waiting for that because they agree with you.
Yeah, and it's not to take away from the 86 Fleer is an iconic card. It's an incredible card. I mean, it's not taking away. And I think a lot of people, they'll take it, especially if they own one or they just like one over the other, they're going to get upset about it. And that's okay. I mean, but yeah, no, I think it's fun. It's fun debate for sure.
All right. So where do you see your content going in the next year or so as the hobby evolves? We've been on this roller coaster. Where do you see kind of your role in the hobby and your content over the next year?
I don't know if I'll be doing anything amazingly different than I'm doing currently. I did start a website, sportscarddad.com, where I'm kind of just filtering, the YouTube stuff over with some additional commentary onto the website. I keep saying that I want to, work harder at short form type stuff like the reels and the shorts, and I do okay with it. But I think it's just finding time for what you can do. And so I don't know if over the next year or so it'll be amazingly different than what I do now. But we'll see. I'm always up. I've been kind of adjusting things over time, but I also will say, going back 4 years, a lot of it is similar. So I wish that I was, some folks are just a lot better at coming up with new ideas, and they're going to innovate content or this. And I'm not there yet with it. I'll probably just stick to what I'm doing.
I was about to say 4 years in, something's working for you, so you don't need to change much. First of all, thank you for coming on. I hope we can do this multiple times and keep an open dialogue, because I am a big fan.
Oh, I appreciate it, Danny. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Like I said, I watch every new episode that comes on. You have great people, different interviews from different parts of the hobby, so it's always a must watch.
Thank you, and give all the info where people can find you: YouTube channel, social, everything.
Sports Card Dad on YouTube. I'm at Sports Card Dad on IG, and I think I'm also just the Sports Card Dad on Twitter as well.
Fantastic, Dustin. Appreciate you being on. I promised you we'd land on time, and I'm going to land on time. So thank you very much. To everybody else, see you next time on Hobby News Daily. Take care.
Thanks, guys.